everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don. And if you're here for one reason and one reason only, and that is a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you by ComicBook Clique. As you know, I am never alone. Here with me, sir, introduce yourself.
We are here. I am Cloudus Maximus, the Maximus.
And we're here for a very special episode, the 10th episode
10.
of the Major Issues Podcast. 10 episodes.
10 worthy episodes.
Now, you know, that's a baby anniversary, but I'm so happy we've even gotten here.
We're proud.
We're proud fathers of the Major Issues Podcast, and we figured that we would take this special, monumentous occasion to celebrate Black History Month and Black Panther and Black Lightning and just all this Black awesomeness that's coming out in comic books and comic book media. Because that's what we do here on the Major Issues Podcast. And I guess we should start right there. I guess real quick.
Jumping right in.
Without getting too deep on the character, how excited are you for this Black Panther movie?
Black Panther. The final stop before the Infinity War. Besides that being the final stop before Infinity War, I want to see what else we got, man. We're going to Wakanda.
Yeah.
Wakanda.
That's big. First time. And we
what
saw a
do
little
you
bit.
know about Wakanda?
We saw a little bit of it.
I don't know anything about Wakanda. Let's go.
Well, yeah.
MCU, show me what you got.
This will be Black Panther's solo film. And that's the thing. That's the main reason why I wanted to get into all of this, because with the first Black Panther's first film and all the hype that surrounds it, a lot of people are highly anticipating this to do a lot for Black superheroes and their portrayal in media.
Right.
And people started to sit and think about, well, what have we gotten before in the past, and when you think of Black superheroes, who comes to mind? I guess I'll ask you that first. Is there anybody who just leaps out to you?
I'm biased when it comes to this.
It doesn't even have to be your favorite.
I get Spider-Man because Miles now.
Yeah.
You know? I got Static.
Yeah.
Static's another one. I wrote it down. It's right here.
Yeah. Static's good.
Spawn.
You know, we like, a lot of my comic book knowledge in the beginning was shows that I watched, right? Before I got to start getting into these books. When I think of that, I think of like Bishop from X-Men. You know what that mean? Looking scar on his face. But there weren't a lot of like leading Black superheroes in like the early cartoons and stuff. With Black Panther, you know, it's important because the character himself has, you know, blazed the trail coming all the way since the 1960s.
He's a king.
And that's the thing. Prior to like the 1960s, you don't really even have Black superheroes at all in comics.
Yeah.
Before the Civil Rights Movement, you know, you had Lobo was this Black cowboy who had his own comic, but he wasn't a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he gets the first of that. But as far as superheroes were concerned, you don't get any before, you know, the 1960s. And Marvel, you know, gives us Black Panther in 1966. And that's way before we even get the Black Panther name. Well, you know, the Black Panther Party gets its name. Black Panther, the character, precedes all that. And African born. You know, not only is he the first Black superhero from the Marvel side, but born in Africa. That was a bold choice.
Are you guys writing this down?
Yeah, that was a bold choice to do it that way. Are you a big fan of Black Panther? Did you know him much before Civil War and the?
I knew little things. I knew he had vibranium. He had all the vibranium.
Like he wore vibranium?
And I knew his suit was made out of vibranium as well. And Wakanda has all the vibranium.
He knew that
and
Wakanda.
he was king of Wakanda.
And that's another big point. Not only
Your
is Black
Majesty.
Panther, a superhero, but he's also a king,
Yeah.
uh, royalty. He's often depicted as one of the smartest members of the Marvel Universe. He's on the Illuminati.
And the richest, so he's bowling. He's bowling.
He is worthy enough to hold the Infinity Gauntlets.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, I guess you can even say he's worthy enough to be the Black Panther because the Black Panther God has to anoint you.
Yes.
The power being the
So
Black
I've
Panther.
heard. So I've been told.
So T'Challa, is pretty worthy when it comes to, being a solo hero. But think about it. Like I said, 1966 is when he's created. We don't get a movie till 2018.
We're here now.
I mean,
Right.
beggars can't be choosers, but you have him, Black Lightning, on the DC side.
Hmm.
Just got his own television show, which we'll get into a little bit. But Black Lightning was DC's first
Which is amazing.
black hero in 1977. A little bit late to the party, but
Right. Right. But later than ever.
again, and it's funny because one of the people that was used to help create Black Lightning was somebody who had worked on Luke Cage at Marvel.
Ooh.
So you got a little bit of that taste there, and we got Falcon. Falcon's a huge
Hmm.
name. You got to see him in Civil War. He was in Winter Soldier. Debuts in Winter Soldier. Has a big part in that. Debuts in 1969. And, I mean, he becomes Captain America. The Black Captain America. And they even go so far as to call one of his volumes Not My Captain America because of the backlash that he received
Right.
over stuff like that.
I heard about that.
Do you prefer Sam Wilson as Falcon or Captain America? Do you mind him
Um,
as Captain America, I guess?
I didn't have a problem when he was Cap at all. I really liked it. I picked up one or two things when he was running as Cap, so I thought it was actually pretty cool.
Are you one of those people that thinks a particular role or moniker should only be one race or one gender?
No,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with
no,
having that feeling,
not at all.
100%, I guess, right?
Because they turned Thor into a woman, and
I'm,
I thought that was really cool too.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I like it when they switch
Right,
it up, but I'm
right,
trying to
yeah,
think
I
of
like it
any.
when they switch
We
it
have
up
any
too.
readers out there that have their stances. I love it when things just get reimagined, so other people get to see
Yeah.
what it feels like to be in the skin of some of these heroes. But with Falcon, you know, coming out, he's best friends with Cap. You had T'Challa, like I said, he's royalty. And then you get to heroes like Luke Cage, right? Who come out in 1972
Harlem
and
Captain
in
America.
Harlem, and the stuff that he deals with, he's just very street level
Right,
hero.
right.
He's not running around with the Captain Americas and the Avengers. I mean, he eventually joins the Avengers,
Right.
but he's dealing with things mostly on his level. And the thought of taking things to the streets, I guess, as people would
Streets,
say.
as
Uh,
the kids would say.
How did you like Luke Cage, especially with him being brought into the Defenders, Netflix?
I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, um, I kept I always kept myself laughing because he's got unbreakable skin, so he's always got to buy clothes.
Yeah, yeah, all those bullet holes and stuff like that. You you have Luke Cage come out, and he comes out like I said, he's in the 70s when he debuts. Um, he blazes a trail just like all the other heroes, like I say. But what I mean to say is that when Marvel gets the opportunity to use him in the form of Netflix or give him his own television show, I was very shaky to find out how they were gonna portray this.
Mhm.
You knew it was gonna be taking place in New York. You knew it was the Luke Cage that you see mostly in the Ultimate
Right,
universe,
and it
like
was
not
gonna
the
be
one
in
with
present
the
day too, so they were gonna have to work with.
yeah. You
You
knew
know.
they had but a lot of his stuff is like from the 70s. Like
Hmm.
majority
Yeah,
of his
yeah.
stories
Majority
are
of your
from
stories
the
from the
70s.
70s. Yeah.
So you're dealing with like very 70s outfits and even like slang and stuff like that. When you're saying things like "Sweet Christmas" and getting away with it, um, they had to modernize it and they had to do it in a way that not only made it feel like it took place in the same Marvel universe where the Avengers take place, right? But they have to do it in a way that takes place in the same universe where the Trayvon Martin stuff happens,
Hmm.
and they even find a way to speak to all that kind of stuff with the bullet holes in the hoodie and all that
They had
stuff.
Method Man in an episode.
Yeah, but this man's out there and he's spitting truth about Luke Cage and what he's doing for, um, the community. Nicholas Cage got his stage name Cage from Luke Cage,
Mm,
superhero fan.
look at that.
So Luke Cage is the gift that keeps on giving.
Sweet Christmas.
See, Falcon, Luke Cage, T'Challa. I'm talking about Black Panther. How about you said Miles Morales? Miles Morales is, I
Yes.
believe he's also half Hispanic, right?
Hmm.
I'll check that out. Can't forget Storm,
No. Wife of T'Challa,
wife of T'Challa. You want to talk about
aka Black Panther.
Black power couple? Um, Even went on a cool diplomatic mission that was going on during Civil War. I thought that was awesome
Hmm.
to see them going around like royalty and go on these missions and speak to the leaders of various locations. But Storm is also somebody like Black Panther that I would say was always portrayed with respect and
Yeah.
dignity.
In the
And
comics and
like she's never been second to
and in
anybody.
the shows. Yeah.
And where you get female comic book heroes, and this is not a knock against them, but when you get a lot of ones that are not focused front and center, they become kind of like, oh, who they're gonna hook up with, who are they in a relation,
Yeah.
gonna be in a relationship with, and Storm never was like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
and
just Storm.
and to be honest, I never really even watching X-Men. I'm like, no,
She was just
yeah,
a strong.
yeah, for real.
She came through and
For
she
real.
was she was been portrayed as a leader. Um, Almost second before Emma Frost comes through. She's second
Hmm.
to like Cyclops in that respect, and um, that's awesome.
Storm holding it down.
Storm's always held it down. Even when they did the DC versus Marvel crossover, they had her going against Wonder Woman.
Hmm.
So if that's how they see her,
There
that's
you go.
huge. But it was cool to see them then eventually hook up the Black Panther with Storm. Now,
Ooh, which begs the question. I wonder if he's gonna be single in the Black Panther movie.
all right,
Mm.
check that out.
What's up, T'Challa? You got a Facebook?
I mean, he could meet. Oh my God, could you imagine if he meets like a young Aurora Monroe?
Reshoots can happen.
Or somebody's like, oh no,
Reshoots can happen now.
my cousin is
I know
in-
somebody like
she's in New York. I'm skyping my cousin in New York. She's at her school for gifted youngsters or something like that. I don't know. Make something up. Tie it together. We need Storm, damn it. But yeah, Storm and T'Challa. What a couple. You got Static. You mentioned Static earlier. I wanted to pause a little bit on Static because Static actually comes from Milestone Comics, and Milestone was created by a group of comic book creators that felt like there was misrepresentation or underrepresentation
did not know that.
of African
So it
Americans
was
in
all
comics.
DC.
No. I mean, well, it's so weird because Milestone Comics was distributed by DC, so I guess it was under that banner. But that's where you get Static, and I mean, Static Shock, that television show,
Oh man.
caught fire.
Yeah.
Not only did the actual comics catch fire and did a lot for Milestone Comics, but then you have that television show, and like I said, that's a lot of people's first introduction to these heroes. You before you know your words, you know that like Superman flies and Batman throws things, and so when you get introduced to these heroes early, like Static,
yeah.
that's huge.
I wanted to, electrify everything and stuff like that. So
And without
fly
people,
around on the lid.
and without the Dwayne McDuffies to come out and create and be a part of things like Milestone, you don't get that.
Hmm.
That never exists. Which is why I always say that if you ever feel that pull to do something, do it. You're born on this earth to do it, and if you don't do it, no one may ever do it. We may never get a Static Shock. Could you imagine that? That's ridiculous. Imagine if Stan Lee never decided he wanted to get into comics, or Jack Kirby never wanted to draw. See, I
It's
don't
be a
even,
completely different
I don't-
conversation.
yeah, I don't want.
right?
I don't want to think. I don't want to think about that world. I'm getting nightmares. I want to think about a world in which we are looking for progress, a world in which we are trying to change the game. And when we talk about progress and changing the game, talk about Image Comics. Image Comics, a lot of those creators at Image Comics were creators at Marvel, and previously worked at DC, and left both of those two mega giant companies to start their own. And one of the leading comics over there at Image was Spawn. And Spawn blew up in 1992 when it came out. You know, big enough to rival Marvel and DC. And then we get the movie in 1997, which is, I mean, that's one of my oldest,
I love
one of
that
my
movie.
earliest comic book memories of comic book medium, and especially movies. I mean, everything else that came before it, I had seen in, videotape and stuff like that. But
The Violator.
you get John Leguizamo, you get Al Simmons and just his story of this being the hellspawn and
Yeah.
the Violator, like you were saying, and wow, I mean, that kind
The
of
suit is
gory, kind of
badass. I
dark.
keep thinking about the suit, the cape.
Spawn is a very different
Yeah,
superhero.
yeah.
He's not the light and the the brightness. Definitely dark. Something we've never seen before, portrayed, and you know they didn't have to, but they made him black. I mean, Al Simmons, Navy SEAL, Special Ops. I mean,
Right.
again,
Yeah. It was fire. It was
putting
fire.
somebody up
Yeah,
front,
everybody needs to stop.
putting Spawn up front, and
It's
Spawn, it's supposed to be getting a reboot movie.
That's cool. I really want to see that. And there's people out there that really like that movie too.
You want to see like a part two?
So I want to see what the reboot is gonna be like.
Some people get reboots. Some people have their first swing at things. Aquaman is supposed to be having his first swing at things this year, supposedly at the end of the year. And the rumor is we're going to be seeing Black Manta in that film. Black Manta, debuting in 1967. I have just recently did a big deep dive into Black Manta. Only because sometimes I get curious about villains I don't really know anything about. I'll sit there and I'll be like, why don't I know about this person? Maybe they stopped writing about them. Why did they stop writing about them? How do people fall through the cracks? And Black Manta is just somebody I never knew anything about. I always thought he looked cool. Never knew anything about him. And basically, I find out that, he's had like a bunch of different origins. I guess originally they just thought he looked cool and used him as a villain.
And they took it from there, yeah.
And then they try to write like a bunch of different origins for him. But, eventually he's unmasked after years of not being seen, and he's black. And when he's unmasked, it's this whole thing of like, I always said I wanted to take over the oceans for my people. What kind of people did you think? Why do you think they call me Black Manta? And it's like this big thing. And he said that's what he was trying to do, is trying to take over the sea and make a habitat just for black people, because the ocean is, so much.
I didn't know that though.
It's a majority
That's
percent of it,
wow.
right? And I'm like, how did they get away with things like that? But that was Black Manta's deal. He was gonna be a black supremacist superhero fighting Arthur Curry.
You like it when you find things out? Wow.
I mean, I don't know if I like that, but they definitely went in that direction. And you can't be afraid to go that way too, right? I mean, we're talking about equality and in representation. There are good and bad in every race. You have to play those roles. That's why you get a Cottonmouth, that's why you get a Black Mariah from Luke Cage, or Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller, ruthless. Starts the Suicide Squad. Basically a inmates held against their will on the threat of death to do as she says. Villain,
If not, your head explodes. Nothing too serious.
And Amanda Waller, also strong character.
I mean, how strong do you have to be to blow somebody's head off?
Man, she'll stand up. She'll stand up to. I seen her stand up to Superman. She stand up to Batman. We saw her in Suicide Squad basically stand up to all the inmates. She is never scared, and Amanda Waller gets the job done. And like when you have villains like her and Black Manta, who are ruthless, but then you go the other way with it, and you have heroes like Black Lightning that are so heroic. You show that full spectrum. That it's not about where you come from or even how you look, but really the choices you make. It's going to be about the choices that you make at the end of the day. And it's just it's up to the creators. It's their responsibility to keep these characters of color afloat. But how do you feel about new characters? Creation of new characters. So I come to you. You work for Marvel. You're head of Marvel editing, whatever. And I go, listen. We need more Asian representation. We just do. There's Asian readers out there that are feeling like they're underrepresented and would be more interested in their stories if there was more Asian heroes.
Hmm.
Um, do you go the route of making Asian versions of regular heroes, or do you make the route, or you go the route of making brand new heroes? And if you make the brand new heroes, where do they rank with the heroes that we got?
Um, can I do one of each to see how it's received?
Is that what you would probably do?
And then I'll just probably like cancel out whatever.
Whichever
Just the
one didn't
lesser,
work.
yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah.
I guess I'll do that first.
What do you think your first instinct would be to do?
I don't know. That's hard though,
It is, right?
cause it's like you.
And that's the issue that you face a lot of these times, because you get a brand new character like Batwing,
Now I'm stuck. I'm thinking like, damn.
Duke Thomas, the Signal, just debuted as a superhero. The Signal, I want to say earlier this year, had his first issue, if not very, very, very late last year, and brand new character, and they're trying to give him time with Batman
Mhm.
as like one of his underlings that's not a Robin, to get that rub,
Yeah, give him
to
some burn. Yeah.
get some burn from Batman, that recognition and stuff like that. But some people see it as like them trying too hard.
Mm.
So how do you make new? It's very hard to make
I
new
mean, the story's got to be compelling, I guess.
and fresh. I mean, because
Yeah.
Miles took.
Right. Right. Right.
But you do know that there were people that just felt, and there's still people
Oh
that
yeah.
still
Yeah. Yeah.
feel that Miles Morales is just Black Spider-Man.
Nah. I don't.
You know? I
How?
mean,
Well, I mean, I guess
we're
I
gonna have to
know how, but
we're gonna have to go
I
there.
don't
Might as
know.
well go there now. There's a couple of heroes I didn't name because I wanted to bring them up in this part of the conversation about heroes that um took took over a mantle or a moniker
Hmm.
from previously white or other race um hero like Miles Morales.
I feel a certain way when it comes to that, cause like you were going with Miles. People, I feel like you don't, I like you won't know until you like pick it up and read it.
Right.
Otherwise, you. I feel like most of the people complaining are just people that haven't just picked it up and read it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got volumes in the house, and I'm in love. I can't. It's how can you dislike it? You know, even it as and I consider myself like a hardcore fan. Like Spider Man's number one for me, and I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't.
I think the oddest part about it
That's,
was, if I'm not mistaken, they were running at the same time still.
yeah, they were running at the same time.
Eventually Miles, something happens to Peter, but they were running
Yeah,
at the same time, so it's not like you have
at
to choose.
the same the when it was happening to Peter, Miles was trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like you had to choose off the rip. It's not like they were saying
Yeah.
that your favorite was gone. They
Hmm.
were just saying here's another version. Um so you have Miles, which people would dumb down by saying Black Spider-Man.
Hmm.
You have John Stewart, which people often call the Black Green Lantern. A lot of people's Green Lantern, right?
Hmm.
How many people who were introduced to the Green Lantern by watching Justice League or Justice League Unlimited? And, they could have picked Kyle Rayner, who was very prominent in the comics,
Hmm.
but they chose to do John Stewart. And a lot of people were introduced to, the former veteran, who also is able to use the Green Lantern ring to save his sector, which happens to be Earth. How do you feel about John Stewart, Green Lantern, and his rumor that he's going to be in like the Green Lantern Corps?
I think that's gonna be um real great. My thing with Green Lantern is my favorite Lantern is Hal. So
Yeah.
I'm just like I really don't care where they go from here because they kind of like shunned or did a bad job with Hal. So I'm not
Yeah.
really. But Green Lantern is still my guy, so I'm excited regardless. So let's go.
I hope. Yeah, I hope they do something with John Stewart. I think even if Hal's the main Green Lantern going forward with the Justice League,
Hmm.
I think John Stewart is enough of his own character where they can do something with him. He can still be a cool part of the team, even if he does a cameo. Um, there was some controversy when um, the New 52 started and Wally West was introduced as a black young man.
Hmm.
Also, concurrently, you had The Flash begin and Iris West, African American, and then Wally West there portrayed as African American. Did that throw you off any? Wally West was the Flash in Justice League Unlimited. Many people know Wally West as being white.
Right.
Um, Also, red hair. That's one of the most identifying
I
things
mean,
about
maybe
Wally
it's just
West.
me. It's just I'm just like over all of that. I'm like, oh, he's black, okay.
Yeah,
So I'm just like, okay, cool, something different. Let's go.
yeah.
I'm just that doesn't get under all that stuff doesn't get under my skin. Just if I like the story, I'm gonna like it. S- stop
Th-
complaining and
Yeah,
pick it up.
yeah. A lot of people,
Pick it up.
yeah, you got to read these stories. A lot of people judge them unfairly, I would say, because for the
I
most
say for
part,
the most part they're judged unfairly. Just pick it up.
with the other big thing is I don't feel like these characters are defined because they're black, like by their blackness.
Mhm.
If that's a thing, I don't think that when they changed Wally West into being black in the comics, anything changed about his attitude, how he approached things, how he spoke. So it's weird because someone would
Right.
even say, then why even do it at
Why even? Yeah,
all?
yeah, I get it.
You
Yeah.
know. But I didn't mind it.
Right.
What
That's
do you
how I
say?
that
What do you say about that?
I
You know.
I was just about to thing on that. It was in a way with the whole thing with Peter and Miles thing.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people still felt.
So
But
maybe
those
that's the
same
question.
people the same people that I spoke to about it for a little bit and had conversations with was the same thing. It was like, but it's still good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really don't. If,
So it should. So in your opinion, do you think it should be that like it should be good or not at all?
I
Like
mean, yeah, definitely. Definitely, it should be at least if not good, then interesting. As long as it's not bad, then
okay,
that's all I can ask for.
okay,
That's cool.
yeah,
I can
yeah.
live with that.
I think that's fair.
Tell whatever story you want to tell. Just don't make it bad.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm cool with that.
I can dig that. I can dig that. So you end up with, and as you can see, this is going on a lot in DC, right? So you, like I said, John Stewart, the Black Green Lantern, Wally West, the Black Kid Flash.
Hmm.
You end up getting a second Aqualad, which is the son of Black Manta. There's that name again. Um, and he's African American, so he's the Black Aqualad. First one's white, second one's black. Um, I thought he had a real cool backstory because uh, there's not many heroes that are son of a villain,
Right.
and I think there's something to say about parents being scary, right?
Yeah.
Like
Always.
parents are scary,
Yeah.
and I think that especially in urban households, there's this ultra scary masculine, right?
Right.
You have to do, and so it's cool to see Black Manta have this cold way of handling his son,
Hmm.
and the fact that his son knows that his dad is basically a monster,
Right.
um, and how that's portrayed. Uh, I think it's pretty cool. I think that having that layer was something that, like you said again, like something you don't really think about. It's not something you go, "Oh, I need this," but when it happens,
It's like, oh, I
yeah,
didn't know I needed
I
this,
didn't know
but
I needed
yes,
it.
give me more. I like this.
Let's see who we not giving their love to. How about Vixen? Vixen, on
Hmm.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Here we go.
Vixen, Legends of Tomorrow. I mean, on Legends of Tomorrow, she uses the totem to harness the power of any animal. Uh, she comes out in 1981.
Hmm.
Supposed to be the first African American superhero. on DC side at least, to come up with her own comic, but it gets canceled
Oh
before
damn.
the first issue comes out.
Damn.
Bad luck for you,
Sorry,
Vixen.
girl.
But she's already been betrayed twice in the Arrowverse,
Mhm.
by two different actresses. You had one actress play her in Arrow, and then when they decided to introduce her in Legends, they said, "Well, we'll just get a relative of hers and
Sure.
we'll use her in Legends," which I thought was pretty funny. And then she also had her own animated show on the CW Seed.
Oh,
Vixen did. So Vixen is
okay.
definitely coming back, and
There's more.
she's in Injustice 2.
Hmm.
She is a playable skin for Cheetah.
Oh.
Yeah, look at that. Vixen is making
She's
cameos.
around. She's around.
So, like I said, like they have been,
Mhm.
they have been doing their best to make sure these characters are around and stay around. Which, I mean, I guess is all you can really ask for. Um, and when you're thinking about stuff like that, when you're thinking about who deserves to stay around, because like I said, they're not all winners.
Right. Okay.
A lot of these guys are great. Some of them are just like okay, and we just listed basically Hall of Fame
Mhm.
black superheroes, but there's so many on all sides that are just oh wow, they just made that up, huh? Okay, Cisco, they just made a Latin superhero who breakdanced. Like
Hmm.
you start going, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I'm like,
So, um, be a lot of these heroes, while they're blazing their trails in the comics. If you're not reading comics, you're watching the movies, and so if you're watching movies, you're watching television shows again. There wasn't a lot of there was a lot to choose from back then. But when you think of black superheroes in movies, I said again, you do um, Spawn, like I said. What about Blade? Right?
hmm.
Gotta talk Blade. Blade, the undead vampire killer, half vampire, I believe, right?
Hmm.
Wesley Snipes.
Rappery.
Bring it to a trilogy. Who would have thought that Blade would have gone all the way to part 3? Um, Pre MCU, pre DCEU, pre this studio, that studio,
Yeah. Yeah.
who's gonna
Hell yeah.
play and what storyline from the comics. We didn't even know what they were gonna do with this, and blows it out of the water to the point that they've been trying to reboot it ever since. Remember they got that little Blade television show that wasn't working, and he does cameos from here time and time again in the comics. Very interesting character. Um, Blade, man, what were your first impressions of seeing Blade, especially like in that movie?
I think the third one got too much.
Madness.
Yeah, too much
You talking about the one
thing
where he
going on.
fully fights Dracula?
But for me, I like it, the whole all three, 1, 2, and 3. So 3 is kind of my favorite because I got to see when I was a little older
Yeah.
and appreciate the trilogy a little bit more. So
But that haircut, those glasses,
yeah,
the sword,
that
the katana.
the sword, dude.
Oh my god, it's bananas. Um, I just remember thinking like just cool, right? Like I see a lot of superheroes as heroic, and very few times do I see Spider-Man as really like cool.
Hmm.
I see him the most cool when he's having fun. When he's fighting crime, I'm just like, oh yeah, just go out there and do it, Peter. But as like dust your shoulders off, cool. That's how I saw Blade,
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool to see a hero like that.
yeah, the gadgets, man, too. Gadgets, the sword,
Like all
and
these like
all of them would disintegrate you. The blades
yeah,
and
then he had
stuff,
like
you know.
garlic grenades and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So you end up getting Blade, and you have your obviously comic hero comedic superheroes like Blank Man or Meteor Man and stuff like that. Um, MCU we get Falcon, like I said again, in Winter Soldier, um, Terrence Howard in Iron Man.
Hmm.
Who eventually gets replaced by Don Cheadle, playing War Machine. Rhodey. Um, that's a little bit. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the whole like Cap,
It.
Falcon, Iron Man, Rhodey? Um, is there something to be made up of that, or is that just coincidence?
Nah, I think it's just coincidence.
Just coincidence. Falcon.
Definitely
Yeah.
coincidence. Yeah.
Coincidence. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can see
See,
that.
yeah, yeah,
I can see that. I can see
definitely.
that. But how about more modern portrayals? Hancock.
I like Hancock. Didn't they make a second one
I
or
think
something
the
like
second
that?
one might have been in the books. So Hancock is hit or miss depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of it. I thought it was a pretty decent portrayal of a superhero, especially one that's a little bit
I thought it was a
that's
little too
functional.
long, though. I thought it was a little too long.
I think Will Smith does good superhero.
Yeah, I
I feel
think
like
so.
he's kind of been portraying superheroes this entire time, Men in Black, being a comic, but I thought he did really well with that, and then goes on to play Black Deadshot.
Mhm.
So then again, like,
See?
but no, I mean, I didn't have a problem with Black
No.
Deadshot, but I mean, was it really? I gotta look around now and see if there was even an issue with that at all. Was he? Was he black in the
No.
comics? He wasn't even black in
Big
the
Willie?
comics. You don't think
Nah.
that you don't think the fight against Will Smith? He
Nah.
vetoes that.
Big Willie's invited to
Big Willie style.
Big Willie's invited to every cookout.
That's the man doing the cookout.
Yeah.
So yeah, there wasn't a lot of outrage for Black Deadshot, but there was some outrage for Black Johnny Storm from Fan Four Stick.
That.
Do you remember
yeah,
that?
I remember that.
Now some of
I
this,
was still like, shut the hell up. It's Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan's cool as hell.
there's one part of the logic that I agree with. If he was gonna be black, you kind of had to make Sue Storm black too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing, and I think that they got handcuffed with that.
Did they show?
then they-
did they show their mom?
No, they
In
just
the
showed their
movie?
dad. The dad's black.
Yeah.
Their
that's-
father was black.
Oh
in the,
yeah, you're right.
in the film.
Ah, boo. Ah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? So you think that's
Well, I didn't think of it that way, but now that we're here,
is that an example? Is that an example of the bad version of what we were just talking about?
a little bit.
Like
yeah.
you don't have to make Johnny Storm black.
Yeah.
You just did it, and now you don't have enough good reason
definitely
to do it.
Definitely.
So
Hell yeah.
there's issue with that, and Michael B. Jordan, like you said, great actor.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan's dope.
Great
man.
actor. And just bad role, I guess. But what kid doesn't want to be a superhero? Doesn't want to say, hey, you want to play Johnny Storm? Hell yeah. I want to play Johnny Storm. I don't care if I don't look like
Now
Johnny
he's
Storm.
Eric Killmonger.
And now he's Eric Killmonger. Now he gets to be
looking like
a
he's
villain.
killing it. Michael B.
Let's go to the Arrowverse, right? Before we get Black Lightning, before we get Luke Cage and stuff like that, who we got? We got
Diggle for Shizzle. We
got
got
my man
Wally.
Diggle. Wally. You got Joe West.
Joe West.
Respectable black officer of the law.
Joe West.
Detective, right? Detective Joe West. That's not really the storyline in the comics. And they go there, and he's a father, he's a mentor. You don't ever bat an eye. There's no color issues in that. So why do we buy that, but we don't buy Michael B. Jordan? The whole thing with that. Maybe it just worked it better in the Flash.
And we saw both parents.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, it could be that. Like you said, Wally and Iris. Also strong characters. Who's there on Supergirl? Supergirl, Jimmy Olsen, Black Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, Black Jimmy Olsen.
What do you think about that? That was big.
But that was big though.
That's
that
huge.
That was big though.
It's one of the oldest comic book characters.
If you know
ever.
who Jimmy Olsen is, then yeah.
I mean, but they shoot him in the head in BVS.
Yeah,
So I mean,
they
it's not like
they kind of been getting him the crap end of the stick.
I don't know if you could do any worse than that. That's out of control there.
Hang in there, Jimmy.
But yeah, you got Black Jimmy Olsen, who becomes Guardian in Supergirl.
Martian
Manhunter, John Jones, Black. Also portrayed as white in the beginning of his run. In the comics, he was a private detective, I believe. He was a private detective, and he was white. And now he's black. So there's that. Bronze Tiger appeared in Arrow. Michael J. White. He was with China White.
Oh.
Remember China White? China White. That was her name. And so you had Bronze Tiger there. So they good peppering it in. Vixen, Firestorm,
yes.
Jefferson Jackson.
Jefferson Jackson.
on Legends. I want to say, now don't quote me here,
Mm.
but I want to say, now I'm following my logic, that the Hawk people are black.
I want to say, I see what you're
Okay,
saying. I see what you're saying.
so
I kind of want to agree with you too.
Egyptian, right?
Right,
Egypt's in
right.
Africa, but I can't recall if they were born in like around Cairo because if they're just born in Central City. Then I don't know. I don't know what to say. But I'm gonna go with black on that. We're gonna go ahead and allow that to go through until further notice,
We're gonna
until
leave
somebody
that in
else.
limbo right now.
Yeah,
You
until
know.
somebody else can correct me. I'm gonna go with the Hawk people. Uh, what I said Firestorm already. I've said Vixen. Am I leaving anyone out? I know Mr. Terrific ends up joining the team on Arrow. He has 6 PhDs, genius level
Alright.
IQ. He uses what he calls T-balls. They're these silver spears that basically can do anything. They can throw them in the air and scan the room and kill everybody and do smoke pellets. They're like these Pokeballs that can basically do everything. And he just his uh, disguise is a big black T on his face
Mm.
that he painted on his face. So he had that. On the Marvel side, when with Luke Cage, you ended up getting a little bit of Misty Knight, some Misty Knight action. Uh, Great, strong black character who eventually got her arm removed. Spoiler alert. And she's gonna look more like her counterpart with a adamantium, I want to say, or vibranium arm.
Oh yeah, that's right. I seen that. Yeah,
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 so
yeah.
that's gonna be awesome. Misty Knight. I thought the actress did a great job on that as well. But
Isn't Cloak black?
yeah, Cloak
Ooh.
from Cloak and
Okay.
Dagger. He's black.
They keep
Um,
coming.
they
More. Let's see
yeah, I
what
don't want.
else we got.
I gotta double check when Cloak actually came out. Cloak's been around for I want to say a minute, and you got Brother Voodoo, who works on the side of magic
Mm.
with the whole
He was the Sorcerer Supreme
yeah
at one point.
became the Sorcerer Supreme. Um, and that's the thing. You create these characters, and then they have to kind of achieve something of note, right? They have
Mm.
to have done something for them to be viewed on the same light as everybody else. But then when you do things, people get upset and they go, "Well, why are you trying to make this person do everything?" You
You
get it?
can't satisfy people.
Yeah, and you can't win and you can't lose.
So you know what you tell them? You tell
Um,
them to pick it up.
Read it.
Pick it
Yeah, I guess some people just need to get in and read it, or just get in and see it because, like I said, a lot of these
up. That
shows
too.
are
That too. That too.
now changing the game. I want to take a little second to talk about the Luke Cage show again because man, when I first saw that, I was like, that's my New York, and
Right.
it coming from New York, coming from Brooklyn. Um, we often see a side of Marvel when they talk about New York City, they talk about Manhattan. That's what they talk about. They only talk about the nice parts of New York. And I'm not saying
Mhm.
that where I grew up wasn't nice, but it didn't look
Right.
nice.
Right. Right.
And
Right. Right.
it
Right.
didn't always treat you the nicest. And you don't get that portrayed a lot in these shows. And I felt like Luke Cage really leaned into that and in a way made me feel like that could be happening if I open the
Yeah.
door.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can go to that corner store that you see in the background of Luke Cage and stuff like that. How important do you think it was to actually do it in Harlem, and with what I would say with like a black field dealing with soul
I thought it
music
was great. It was
and all that.
authentic. Like you can feel it every shot, every frame that was done out there was bananas. You like in certain shots when they're coming out of buildings and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, that's Harlem. You know, yeah,
Yeah,
that's Uptown. You know,
yeah. Uh,
so I found myself saying that a lot, which I really really liked a whole lot.
and then you had that very powerful moment where he gives that speech. Remember when that child is trying to rob him? That kid's
Mhm.
trying to rob
Mhm.
him,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Call me that. Nah, I will never let you call
Yeah.
me the N word." And goes into that speech, and in that moment when it happens, you start to go, you start to think to yourself, why didn't anyone ever say that before? Right?
Mhm.
Like, it's like you said before with the heroes, you didn't know you needed them until it happened.
Mhm.
You start to go, like, I thought the swear jar thing was amazing
Right.
because I don't mind cursing.
Mhm.
I don't mind swearing or whatever you want to cussing or whatever you want to consider it. But I also want to work more on speaking well
Right.
and increasing my vocabulary and realizing why I'm using the words. If I'm using the words because I don't have the words that I need, then that's a problem. And I want to find those words. So I've always believed that, and I've always told that to everybody, that I see, because I think I always wanted to, raise our game of conversation. That's the whole reason why we do stuff like this with major issues. Um, so for Pops to have that clause in there where you got to pay money now,
Right, right.
and own up, and how Luke Cage said, like, you should always have a uniform, and all that other kind of stuff. Like, they were dropping real things
Knowledge,
there.
yeah, some
It's
gems
like
and stuff.
it's like I also feel like with urban culture, oftentimes we there's a lot of problems. Point blank period, right?
Mm.
And we like to point at the crooked government, and we gotta like to point at racism and cops and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
a lot of that stuff is true. You see it in the news
Definitely, yeah,
every
yeah.
day. But I felt like some things in Luke Cage, we're not blaming things on the black community, but just saying, hey, we need to look after ourselves, and we need to not look after ourselves because nobody else will, but look after ourselves just because it's always good to help your fellow man. And if we have the tricks or the tips to help each other succeed, like, hey, wear a suit. Hey, stop cursing. Hey, stand up straight, or and or read a book or something like that. Like,
Enough
I,
of that
I've
will
always
rub off
I've
and
always been
spread
about
it,
that.
man.
I've always been about that because Luke Cage could have been one of those like Black Dynamite heroes, and there's a
Mm.
there's a time and place for that too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
For work
yeah.
there's a time and place for that too. But I think that you get a moment, and these moments come so not infrequent, and in that moment you have a choice of what you're gonna do with the time that you have, what message you're gonna send. And Luke Cage did a lot, I think, to send positive messages about uh, just the black community, what the positives and negatives, how things can change, and how there's good and bad in every neighborhood, and sometimes the good and the bad is not the things or the people that you perceive them to be, which is a lot of what racism is
Right.
ultimately, is the idea that you think the goods and bads, the positives and negatives of this specific uh, thing or person or race, and those perceptions are just wrong. And I perceived Luke Cage to
Ooh,
be
I was
great.
about to say, if you ain't say Luke Cage, all that, this still comic book clip.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is all about Luke
See,
Cage. This is all about
you
Luke
know,
Cage. Um, thought that was awesome, but I wanted to go from Luke Cage to Black Lightning.
right?
So I know that you said that you have been
Oh,
a
I'm
big
loving.
fan
Yeah,
of
I'm
Black
loving
Lightning.
this ride, man.
So talk a little bit about Black Lightning. What do you like about Black Lightning?
I'm. I'm getting the same feel, like, well, not the same feel, but I can see how people think, how people feel it's similar between that and Luke Cage. Um, First of all, I didn't know who Black Lightning was until they started tossing up trailers and stuff like that. I didn't know it was a thing, but when I saw the first episode, I was like, "Huh, this is a thing? Is this a thing? Is it becoming a thing?" And I feel like, for one, I think it's becoming a thing. Um, they're what, a couple episodes in already. I'm loving it so far. Every episode that I keep watching, I keep liking a little bit more and more. So I don't know how many. Did they say how many episodes they're gonna be doing?
It's gonna be a 13 episode season, so a
Okay.
little bit shorter than normal. Um, but if you're unfamiliar, Black Lightning is about Jefferson Pierce, a former superhero who
Hmm.
was a superhero in his youth. I think I want to say he's about 40 now,
Right, right, right.
roughly. He now, as a retired superhero, he chooses to be a principal of a high school where he tries to mentor the young youth. That's saying youth twice. He tries to mentor
The kids at the school.
the children just to become better. He wants to save as many lives as he felt like he saved in costume,
Hmm.
out of costume.
Out of costume.
In this iteration, he is also doing this because his wife left him. His wife, who was tired of seeing him
Getting beat
and
up.
getting beat up
Yeah.
and bloodied, said that she was going to leave him and take the kids if he continued, and eventually just left him, I believe, with the kids. I don't know if I know all those details yet because the series is still
Yeah, it's
continuing.
still, yeah.
But um, this series deals with um, picking up responsibilities. Same way in Luke Cage, right?
Yeah.
And
I feel that that theme is stronger in Black Lightning.
because it's a call. At various points in the show, you'll see that Black Lightning is being called to. You know, like people are
Right.
calling for him to answer this call of justice and to do something right.
But he himself is also torn between the two, so
Right. Because
which is also
oftentimes,
cool. So it's like, what are you gonna do, bro? You know. So
well, here's the thing. Oftentimes, right, doing something right in the hood?
mm,
It means putting a spotlight on yourself,
right.
right? It means putting yourself in danger, and that's exactly what's going on with Black Lightning. You know, if he continues to be Black Lightning, he's gonna put a spotlight on himself, on his
Mm,
family. He risks everything, his neighborhood. You see all the stuff with Tobias Whale. That guy's insane.
yeah.
He's harpooning people.
Harpooning people through the show.
Um, and I'll get to him in a minute, but I think that he can't stand to not answer that call anymore, and can't stand to not take that risk of putting that spotlight on him by doing something right. And I do think that that's what happens with good men. I want to believe that the good men and women, good people, I think get that call and they have to answer it. The same way that Luke Cage did. Eventually, Pops, when he got shot, he had to answer the call. He had to put on his hero suit or just his yellow shirt and hoodie,
Always
and
forward.
and yeah, and move always forward. Um, but yeah, I think this speaks more to that because he quit being a hero, and I think oftentimes when you're a good person, or you consider yourself unselfish, or any of the other things that you consider are good traits of being a person, when you do it often enough, or it gets tiring, right?
Hmm.
You don't want to always be the patient person, or the nice person, or the courteous person, or the generous person. So when you're a superhero, I can see that getting tiring real quick. Like just being like, no, you know what? I'm not gonna do it for a while. I'm 5 years, 10 years, and I'm just gonna drop it. And how hard it is to then pick back up that responsibility of going, oh no no no, I'm just gonna save my girls. Oh no no no, I'm just gonna save this block. Oh no no no, I'm
Right,
just gonna
right.
save the city. And then
Then
what?
you right back in.
Oliver,
Uh,
he comes in to do a list of names in a book.
yeah, and
We're
now look
like
where he be at
season
now.
6 now, and he's
Yeah.
the mayor of the city. And so um this shows a lot about answering the call of being a hero. Um, and with the daughters, it's a lot about pride. Anissa, his oldest daughter, is a protester. The youngest one calls her Rosa Parks
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. Um, those girls both look like well, one of them seems to be getting powers.
Right,
Looks
right.
like they might be going
The
in that
oldest one.
direction. Um, but you know, strong women also on that show. So you're dealing with those sorts, the things of pride, marching, um, various marches. You already know about that in civil rights. But even with all of that, as far as Black pride is concerned, I think you deal with a little bit of hatred in the villain with Tobias Whale, because Tobias Whale's albino in this.
Hmm.
So he has black features, but his skin lacks pigment.
Right.
So he has white skin. And I feel like they're playing a lot of cool games with what that could do to a person internally, because this guy is a guy who wants to be respected. He wants to be the guy who controls the city. You understand?
Right.
This is his city, and it is what it is. But I could see him being not white enough in white circles, and being not black enough in black circles.
Right. I see. Okay, I see what you're saying.
You know,
So yeah,
where
that definitely.
he's
Yeah,
hanging
I
out
see
with the
that.
white
I
CEOs and
definitely
stuff,
seen that a big
and they're
thing.
looking at
That's the
him
case.
like,
Like,
you're
yeah,
black.
black
And
dude.
then he's going around and hanging out with the black people, and they're going, you're white. Look at you,
Yeah.
you're white. And that can do something to somebody. Um, Lala ends up, his little henchman ends up, or one of his other henchmen ends up saying like, you hate black people, don't you? And he says, no, he just hates ignorant people, I guess he says. Um, so I thought that was really interesting that they even went that way with the villain.
I thought
But
that was interesting as hell. I've never seen that before, so I'm kind of.
yeah,
I'm in there. I'm in there. Knee deeps.
they look like they introduced a Black Mariah-esque character in Lady Eve
Hmm.
into the show, played by Joe Scott. Great actress, great musician, heavy hitters, and that's the thing. People are answering the call when it comes to casting these historic black
Hmm.
superheroes, especially now that the superhero genre has blown up. People are on call. People are ready. The Black Panther cast is amazing, star-studded, and soon, very soon, in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks' time, we will have the review right here on the Major Issues podcast. I don't know if
Yes,
I'm
I
ready.
can't wait. I'm not ready. I know for sure, but I can feel the hype every day building. So let's
Listen,
go.
I just want them to crack open this whole Wakanda thing with Black Panther because you know, in my readings of Black Panther, watching him struggle as a king is one of the coolest things because he's a young guy. It can't be easy to be a king. And a lot of the newer stories that are being written for him deal a lot more with the political side of like, well, what if the people who are in charge got their power because they stole precious material from somewhere else and put it in Wakanda?
Hmm.
Like that. Then who's the real heroes? Who's the real villains? Who's entitled to the land? All that kind of stuff. All that um, deep political stuff that I think is kind of cool to introduce to comics. Because I want to get it all. I want the street level stuff of Luke Cage and Miles Morales. I want the political stuff and the royalty stuff with Black Panther. I want to see the team stuff with people like Bishop and Falcon, the loners with like Spawn, going out there and doing it on their own. Um, there's room for all these guys. There's room for inclusion of everybody, and it's not to say one is better than the other, but this
Hmm.
is Black History Month, and I thought it'd be cool to just to celebrate some of the Black comic
I
history
thought it
that's
was
out there.
cool. I thought it was cool.
Celebrating some of the Black comic history out there, and I think this is the part where you said you wanted to talk about Halle Berry's Catwoman, right?
No, it wasn't.
No,
No, it wasn't.
no,
No, no, no. And I don't think we're going to. Nope.
no,
Nope.
no.
Where's nope.
Was that black for being black? Black for the sake of being black?
Um,
Or was that Halle Berry
I
going,
just choose to ignore it. I just choose. It was nice to look at, but terrible to sit through.
um, they kept
Yeah.
they kept the girl from Dope, to play Iris West in The Flash.
Oh.
So they kept that up
Mm,
from the television show. So
I,
decisions being made, people.
I like that.
Things are changing. Times are changing, but there's nothing to be scared of. Change is good sometimes. Got to stretch your wings, open up your mind, be open minded, especially when it comes to these comic book characters. Because listen, at the end of the day, yeah, Captain America's white and Falcon's black, but Nightcrawler's blue and Thanos is purple. And I'm pretty sure there's somebody yellow in Sin City.
But we're all peeps.
Well, some of us are
But
androids. Vision's an android,
yeah, Thanos is from outer space.
and he's a mad titan.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. All creeds, colors, races, all of us just need to put our differences aside, come together,
Just be
and
peeps.
defeat Thanos.
Oh.
We're gonna need all of us. Please, he's coming.
Yeah,
The
guys.
war is coming soon, and it can't come soon enough.
I'm scared.
It can't come soon enough. Before we get there, we're gonna have Black Panther, and like I said, I'm excited. Wow. I think we got a lot of things.
Lots of things.
Got a lot of things said here. We got a lot of information put out there for the people. Some of the stuff it was new to me, but
Yeah,
it's good
definitely.
to see.
Definitely. But that's what I like.
We need. I still think we need some new heroes. I think we need a new batch. But like you said, not for the sake of just having them.
Right.
I think there's some new stories to tell. We just need some new creators. You see how when people are motivated and they grab up Black Panther, people are saying some great things about it. We just need to start from the bottom, motivate good creators to do great things, and yeah, I guess if you want to motivate all creators, or at least this creator to keep doing great things, there's many ways you can do that. I think the best way to support us right now is to leave. a review on iTunes. Rate and review us on iTunes. This is something that we do purely out of passion
Yes.
for all of you guys at home, free of charge. And if we can get better at this, we want to, and the only way we can is from you guys helping us with your constructive criticism on how to make major issues the number one podcast for comic books and comic book media. And I've been to the future, so I know we get to be number one, but
Wow, look
we're
at
just
that.
trying to get there. And
He's
hey,
cheating.
10 episodes in, I think we're on our way. 10 episodes in, come on,
Wow.
can't get
He's
better
been
than
in the
that.
future.
Been to the future, and in the future, I know I see Black Panther,
Do we?
and that
do we
review is
have?
coming soon.
Wow. Do we have 11 episodes in the future?
Oh yeah, we do. Oh, I have something special for the 11th episode. I don't want to say it right now. They'll I think they'll like it at home. But after that comes the Black Panther stuff, and we're gonna have a bunch of reviews once everything starts coming down and this stuff comes in hot and heavy. So if you don't want to miss any of it, make sure that you go to facebook.com/comicbookclique, Instagram at comicbookclique, or use the hashtag comicbookclique to talk about all the latest and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. Don't forget that Major Issues is available everywhere. I'm talking about Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube, wherever podcasts are found, Apple Podcasts, which, like I said, go ahead, iTunes, leave those reviews, help us grow as a company. And with more black heroes, we could grow as a nation. We can grow as a fan base.
Look at that.
You understand what I'm trying to do?
I feel warm already. I'm covered. I'm covered. I'm toasty. Covered.
I think all I want to say is Wakanda forever. That's what I want to say. That's what I want to say is Wakanda.
We're almost there. Let's go.
That's what I want to say is Wakanda forever. My name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don.
Cloudus Maximus.
This has been an episode of the Major Issues Podcast, episode number 10. Woo. And just like this episode, you are worthy.